What's happening, y'all? Welcome inside the Fantasy Stock Exchange. Bush coming at you solo today with a 12-team PPR mock draft. This was requested in the comments section by Jan Aiello. He wanted us to help him get ready for his fantasy football draft. So we're doing a 12-team mock draft today. PPR scoring format: 1 quarterback, 2 running back, 2 wide receivers, 1 tight end, 1 flex, a kicker, a defense, which is something new to this channel. We never do that, and 7 bench spots. So without further ado, we're going to hit the intro and then we're going to get right into this. Okay, so he asked me also to pick from the 11 slot. So that's where I'm going to be picking from today. So if you guys are in a 12-team draft coming up and you're picking near the turn, this is the video for you. If you guys enjoy at any point, like, comment, subscribe to the channel. If you are new, let's get this draft in progress. And we can see Christian McCaffrey go off the board at the 101, Alvin Kamara the 102. That is the way I have it ranked. I would go with Dalvin Cook at the 103, but Derrick Henry is a fine choice as well. Pretty standard start that you're going to see in most of your home league drafts, I would say, because home leagues tend to take running backs a lot. They take them early and often. We can see that 9 running backs went off the board in the first 10 picks here. So overall, looking at the board at the 111 slot, I think you're going to be faced with the decision, do you go running back or do you go with a wide receiver? Now, right now on the board right now, my highest rated running back is Najee Harris. He is my 8th overall player. My highest rated wide receiver is Davante Adams. He's my 5th overall player. And then, of course, Travis Kelce at the 111 is also pretty decent value as well. I'm going to take Davante Adams because he is actually my 4th overall player in PPR scoring formats. So even though this is only a 2 wide receiver start league, as you guys can see at the top of the screen there, Davante Adams in a full PPR is enough of an advantage for me to take him at this 111 slot. So that is the direction I would go with that pick. We can see Eckler and Diggs go off the board there as well. We have Najee Harris and Travis Kelce, who both made it back to me. Antonio Gibson would also be in consideration for me there, but I'm going to go with Najee Harris with my 2nd pick there. So I start off Adams and Najee Harris. I get a running back and a wide receiver. Again, I could have forced 2 running back picks because it's a scarce position. You got to load up on running backs early, but stick to your board. My board says that Adams is the better player in a PPR scoring format. I'm not going to force a pick of a running back just because he's a running back. I'm going to take the best available player. Now we see off the board, after I picked Najee Harris, we saw Travis Kelce go off the board. We saw Hopkins, a number of other running backs like Mixon, Gibson, Edwards-Helaire. And then we also see a big run on wide receivers with Hopkins, Metcalf, Ridley, A.J. Brown, Justin Jefferson, Keenan Allen, Terry McLaurin. Both of the main 2 tight ends after Travis Kelce go off the board, a little late, I would add too, with Kittle and Waller. And 2 quarterbacks actually go off the board in the first 3 rounds with Mahomes and Josh Allen, CeeDee Lamb, David Montgomery, and Allen Robinson, the most recent pick. So looking at the board right now, currently, James Robinson is my highest overall running back. DeAndre Swift and David Montgomery being off the board. James Robinson, if I were looking for a running back, would be the direction I would go in. But my gut tells me that the wide receiver position is going to be where the value is going to stand. And right now, looking at the wide receiver position, Amari Cooper is actually my highest rated wide receiver. Again, it's a 2 wide receiver start league, full PPR with a flex spot. So I can start up to 3 wide receivers a week. I'm going to go with Amari Cooper because he is the best available player in my opinion. And I was hoping that James Robinson would fall back to me. He definitely did fall back to me. So right now, I kind of have a tough decision if I want to go with another wide receiver in Julio Jones or Mike Evans, or if I want to go with James Robinson. And in this situation, James Robinson is a tier break for me. He is the last of that Montgomery, DeAndre Swift tier. So I am going to go with James Robinson here as my RB2. I got 2 running backs, 2 wide receivers to start off my draft. Now, I could have definitely went with a Julio Jones, a Mike Evans there, because they would have been my next 2 highest rated wide receivers. But because I had a tier break at running back, that is the direction I went. And I know that I can only start 3 wide receivers per week in this scoring format. And even though it is a PPR, I'm going to be able to get wide receiver talent later. So we can see after I picked the remaining top quarterbacks, except for Dak Prescott, went off the board with Kyler Murray and Lamar Jackson. Russell Wilson at the 5-5 is way too early for my blood. There's absolutely no chance I would pick him that early. A lot of wide receivers off the board. For some reason, Michael Thomas at the 5-7. Again, do not select Michael Thomas until probably the double-digit rounds, I would say, is when I'm actually going to start to consider him. Sanders, Henderson, Hunt, Gaskin, and Mike Davis, and James Chase Edmonds, not running backs that I'm willing to invest in at that price. Javonte Williams, right now, looking at the board, is the highest-rated running back that I currently have. I think it's a little early for him right now just because I do have 2 solidified running backs. Dak Prescott, pretty convincingly, is my highest rated quarterback. And I do have Amari Cooper, so I could go in that direction. But at the wide receiver position, I have a pretty big time tier break from Brandon AIYUK to the rest of the guys there. So I'm going to go with Brandon AIYUK at the 5'11". He's going to occupy my flex spot. And it looks like Team 12 went with Herbert and Hawkinson. Looking at the board right now, again, I'm going to be kind of serving the best available players. Dak Prescott is definitely a guy that I would be considering. At tight end, TJ Hawkinson did go off the board, who was another guy that I would have considered there. But the fact that he is off the board makes me want to kind of wait at the tight end position because he is the last guy that I really feel comfortable with as an every week starter. Noah Fant is a guy that I really like, but I think there's a chance I could get him at the 7-11. So back to the wide receiver position. To me, it's really a choice between two players, T. Higgins and Chase Claypool. I really like both of these guys. In full PPR scoring, there's really no differentiating one from the other. They're both really high upside guys. I think they're going to rely a lot on big plays. But because the Bengals offense is probably going to throw the ball more because of what I've seen from Jamar Chase in terms of how he's kind of like struggling to acclimate to the NFL, I think there's a good chance that T. Higgins leads this team in targets, leads this team in receptions. So I'm going to go with T. Higgins as my fourth receiver there. I can play with him and Brandon AIYUK. I can kind of play matchups in my flex position. And as you guys can see, the scoring format, and I'll show the full board here on the screen, it's 2 running back, 2 wide receiver, 1 flex start. So it's not a very deep starting roster. And if you guys are in a scoring format like this, I would imagine this is pretty standard that most of you guys are going to see. Make sure you guys load up on upside because you only have to start 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 players per week as positional players. So you need the best starting roster in the league to compete in a format like this. This is not a league where you start 3 flexes, 3 wide receivers, that you need depth and you need PPR guys, for example, like a Juju Smith-Schuster, like a Deebo Samuel, for example. So those guys are not guys that I would be considering in this type of scoring format. I would much rather go for guys like Chase Claypool and Jerry Jeudy, who have a lot more upside to achieve that top 12, top 15 overall wide receiver ceiling. So Robbie Anderson, again, kind of fits into that category of he's a PPR guy. He's more of a floor play, in my opinion, than he is a ceiling play. So looking at the board right now, at running back, I'm not really liking what I'm currently looking at. A lot of the guys that I would have been considering with this pick, Trey Sermon, specifically Ronald Jones and Javonte Williams, they all went off the board. I think I can wait on Michael Carter with my next pick. So that's probably what I'm going to be looking to do. At quarterback, Dak Prescott, Aaron Rodgers, and Tom Brady all went off the board. So I'm probably going to punt the quarterback position, knowing that pretty much everybody in my league has a quarterback already. So with my 9-11 pick, my 10-02, I'm hoping that a Ryan Tannehill maybe can follow to me there. So I'm going to be looking to do that in that direction. But at the tight end position, Noah Fant is on the board for me. And he is going to be my pick because he is the last of the top 7 or so tight ends that I really like this year in fantasy. And Fant, to me, taking Goddard over Fant is an absolute crime. I would not do that in any situation. And unfortunately for me, Michael Carter did actually go off the board. So I'm not going to select Zach Moss or any of these running backs available. I don't think that the value is there. I've built my team basically in a PPR scoring format. You probably want to do this anyway, but I have 1 flex, 2 running backs, 2 wide receiver spots. I'm building my team that I'm going to be flexing a wide receiver more often than not. So all I really need is Najee Harris and James Robinson to anchor that RB1 and RB2 slot. I'll fill out some more running back depth later in the draft, but this is not an area where I'm going to be looking to stack running backs fast and furious because these guys are going to be occupying my lineup. They're big time volume plays. So I don't need to be drafting a Zach Moss as a floor play at this point in the draft. I can just kind of shoot for ceiling. So at the quarterback position, as I mentioned, I'm not going to be going for Ryan Tannehill or anything like that. I'm going to take the best available wide receiver on the board, and that's Devontae Smith to me. I think Devontae Smith, and I talked about it on the breakouts video yesterday, this guy's a supremely talented player. He was a Heisman Trophy winning wide receiver last year. He's the only receiver in the NFL draft to record 80+ percentile win rate per reception perception against man coverage, zone coverage, and press coverage. This is a superstar wide receiver talent put in a situation where he's going to have a lot of opportunity for targets because there's no established targets in that offense. Dallas Goedert, Zach Ertz, Jalen Reagor. If Devontae Smith is the player I think he can be, he's going to very quickly leapfrog those guys in the pecking order for targets. So after I picked Devontae Smith, again, you guys can see a lot of these floor plays that I wouldn't be drafting in a format like this. Robbie Anderson, Tyler Boyd, Brandon Cooks, Jarvis Landry, Antonio Brown, I think is somewhat of a floor play as well. Curtis Samuel. What I'd be looking to do, like I said, is grab some of these guys like Will Fuller and Jalen Waddle, Laviska Shenault, more ceiling plays at this point in the draft, because these are not guys that are going to crack your starting lineup unless there's an injury or bye week, or they just break out. So I would go for ceiling plays. Again, at running back, you can see a lot of floor plays go off the board. Moss, Connor, David Johnson, Kenyon Drake, guys like that. And then a defense goes off the board. Now, We don't do a lot of defensive analysis. If I pick a number one defense, it will be my Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but this is way, way, way too early for a defense in any kind of fantasy format. Your defense and your kicker slot in this format where there's 7 bench spots should be your last 2 picks. Always your last 2 picks are your defense and kickers. Do not draft a defense at 9th round, 10th round, 11th round. You only draft a defense when everything else is done. You have to draft a defense. And sometimes you can even just not draft a defense, draft a handcuff running back or something, hold them until the start of the season. And then right before week 1 begins, you drop that handcuff running back, pick up a defense at that point, and you're going to be streaming defenses based on matchups each and every week. Kickers, same kind of thing, but you're going to be targeting guys in high scoring offenses. So I'm on the board right now. And again, this is not a situation where I'm very excited about a lot of the running backs, but I am going to take Tony Pollard here because I do need some running back depth. And I think he offers me a big upside swing in case anything were to happen to Zeke Elliott. So I'm going to hold on to him for a bit. It is a deep bench league with 7 bench spots. So I'm going to hold on to him. At wide receiver, Corey Davis would be currently my highest rated overall wide receiver on the board. I already have Noah Fant at tight end, so I don't need to worry about that. At the quarterback position, I don't have one yet. But as I've talked about on numerous occasions, if you're going to be waiting on quarterback, I am looking to pair some of these high upside rookie quarterbacks with a stable veteran. So I'm going to probably bypass Trevor Lawrence and wait for Trey Lance with one of my with my next pick, most likely. And then I'm going to be going for a guy like Kirk Cousins later on that I can start who has a good schedule. So again, I'm going to bypass quarterback again, mainly because I don't like what I've seen from Joe Burrow in terms of his rehab process. And I don't like what I've seen from Trevor Lawrence in the preseason. So I'm going to bypass that tier of quarterbacks. And I'm actually going to go back to the running back well. And it is a full PPR league. I'm going to take Nyheim Hines. I think he presents a lot of PPR appeal. If anything were to happen for a couple of weeks, Najee Harris misses a couple of games with an MCL sprain or something like that, I can throw Nyheim Hines into my RB2 slot, maybe even my flex in a great matchup, and he should be able to get the job done for me at the running back position. Now, I'm going to probably look to go back to the wide receiver position. I have 6 wide receivers currently on my team, and I only need to start 3 of them at maximum per week. So in this kind of format, again, you see more kickers, more defenses coming off the board. Just don't do that. Just let other people draft kickers and defenses early on. You're already going to be at a disadvantage if you draft one now because you're not getting the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, the Washington football team, the Pittsburgh Steelers, or the Los Angeles Rams, any of those high-end defenses. So to draft another one right now would not make much sense. Same goes for the kickers. If you're not getting Justin Tucker, you're really at a disadvantage in general. So just completely bypass that position. Again, Elijah Moore is probably my highest rated wide receiver currently on the board. At running back, it's thinned out quite a bit right now. I'm probably going to be looking to bypass that position. So Trey Lance is going to be a big time target of mine, either with this pick or with my next pick. So looking at team 12, and I would encourage you to do this. He already has a quarterback, so I don't think he's going to be a threat to take Trey Lance. So what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to take Elijah Moore because I want to make sure that I get him on my team. And hopefully this guy does not take Trey Lance, and he did not. So I'm going to take Trey Lance with my other pick. And like I said, the best way that you can get a ceiling and floor combination at this point in your draft, when you miss out on Lamar Jackson, you miss out on Kyler Murray and Josh Allen and these great quarterback options, the best way you can get a ceiling and floor combination is by pairing Justin Fields, Trey Lance, Trevor Lawrence, or Zach Wilson, most likely Trey Lance and Justin Fields because they run the most of those 4 quarterbacks. If you pair them with a Kirk Cousins, who is going to be my pick right here, then you can start Kirk Cousins for the first 6-7 weeks of the season. I went over on our must draft quarterbacks video what Kirk Cousins' starting schedule is, and all 7 of those first 7 games are easy matchups. So you can play Kirk Cousins up to 7 games before you even have to start Trey Lance. So what I'm going to be doing is playing Kirk Cousins, waiting for Trey Lance to take over the starting job, which I think is going to be before week 5 of the NFL season. And then once Trey Lance does take over the starting job, I can play matchups with these 2 quarterbacks. And my hunch tells me that Trey Lance is going to be in my lineup more often than not because he gives you that rushing element that Kirk Cousins does not give you. So that is how I'm going to be handling the quarterback position in a league like this. This plan, this strategy would work out with Justin Fields. It would work with Trevor Lawrence. It would work with Zach Wilson if I wanted to go with maybe a Ryan Tannehill in round 9 and go with Zach Wilson at this point in the draft. It also is viable in that kind of scenario as well. So that is the way I would handle the quarterback position in this draft. Again, I have Noah Fant, so I'm not really looking to add any tight ends. And I think the tight end position is pretty kind of garbage right now, except for Cole Kmet, who you guys know I love. So I'll probably take him with one of my last picks. But on the board right now, you guys can see Jacoby Myers is the highest rated wide receiver currently in sleeper ADPs, also my highest rated wide receiver. And we just got news today that Mac Jones will be the starting quarterback because Cam Newton has been released. So Jacoby Myers is going to be a guy that is a big time target of mine. anywhere outside the double-digit rounds. This is a full PPR format as well. So he's going to be a guy that I'm probably going to select here because I think he provides me with a good PPR scoring floor and ceiling combination, because this is a guy that carved out a great target share last year, and he's a guy I can throw into my lineup if I need to. So that's what I went with there. I have a lot of receivers on my team. You guys can see I have 3 receivers in my starting lineup. I also have Higgins, Smith, Elijah Moore, and Jacoby Myers on my bench. So I'm probably not going to add another receiver. The only one I would have added was the one that just went in Rashad Bateman. And you guys can see we're still seeing defenses. We're still seeing kickers off the board. Now I would go with a guy like Cole Kmet here. And the reason I'm going to go with Cole Kmet is because I can pick up a kicker and a defense towards the start of the season. Now I'm going to take Cole Kmet here and hope that Jimmy Graham gets cut before the start of the NFL season. Because if Jimmy Graham gets cut, suddenly I have a starting tight end that I can either trade or use. So I'm going to hold Cole Kmet. And if Jimmy Graham does not get cut, I'll drop either him or I'll drop Jacoby Myers or one of my other picks, and I'll go and pick up a kicker at that point in time. So what I'm going to do is draft my defense here. And then once the season starts, if Jimmy Graham is still on the Chicago Bears, then I can drop Cole Kmet, I can drop Jacoby Myers, whatever one of those guys I want to drop. And then I can go pick up my kicker at that point. So at defense right now, looking at the defenses on the board, like I said, all the big defenses are off the board. All the guys that I think are going to be really good for fantasy this year. So what you want to be doing is you want to be looking at schedules and who has the easy matchups to start the season. So what I'm going to do to start here is look at who do I think is actually a good defense, who can generate turnovers, who has good defensive players on their roster. I think the Miami Dolphins have some great corners. The Minnesota Vikings should be an improved defense. The Saints should be a pretty good defense. The Bears should be a good defense, and the Packers should be a good defense. So what I'm going to do, and I literally don't do any research on defenses because it's a pretty simple formula. Pick teams that have good defensive players on them and look for matchups. So the Miami Dolphins, they have a rookie quarterback in week 1 against Mac Jones. They also have Josh Allen week 2, Derek Carr. That's a pretty tough matchup, tough schedule that they have. So let's see what the Vikings are dealing with here. We got Cincinnati against Joe Burrow, Arizona, Seattle, Cleveland. Again, a little bit of a tough matchup there in terms of how good are the offenses that they're going to be playing. Let's look at the New Orleans Saints. They have Green Bay, Carolina, New England, New York Giants, Washington. Okay, so with the New Orleans Saints, other than Aaron Rodgers in week 1, they have Sam Darnold, Mac Jones, and Daniel Jones from weeks 2 to 4. So that is a pretty good defense to roster at that point. I'm just going to look at these other 2 that I brought up. We also have the Chicago Bears. They get Matthew Stafford, Joe Burrow, Baker Mayfield. That's pretty tough matchups there. Then we look at the Green Bay Packers. They have the Saints, the Lions, the 49ers, the Steelers, the Bengals, and the Bears. So I'm actually looking at the Packers as probably one of the better options right now because they do have nobody that really scares me. The Chargers also have a half decent defense. I'll check out what they got. They got Fitzpatrick. They have Dak. They have Mahomes. Yeah, I'm not going to be going with them. I'm going to go with the Green Bay Packers here as my defense, just based on the matchups that I saw. The Packers have some playmakers on their defense. They have Jair Alexander and players like that. Good front seven, could get a lot of sacks and potentially some strip turnovers and stuff like that. So that's basically the way I approach defenses. Kickers, if you're looking to draft a kicker, let's say you didn't want to go with Cole Kmet, you went with the Packers there. If you're looking to draft a kicker, the easiest thing to do is just pick good kickers that you know are going to make field goals, and you can check their field goal percentage if you want to make sure they're a good kicker, and just pick kickers from good offenses. You guys can see that a lot of teams here, they took the Dallas kicker, the Green Bay kicker, the San Francisco kicker, the Seattle kicker, the Tampa Bay kicker. Just pick kickers from high-scoring offenses. That's really all it comes down to at the kicker position. So looking at my team, I really like what I did. I got good balance between wide receivers and running backs early. I got an elite wide receiver, especially in PPR formats, and Adams. I got what I think can be an elite running back in Najee Harris. Amari Cooper, again, another receiver with an elite ceiling. James Robinson, we know he contributed big time in the passing game, and now with ETN down for the year, we expect probably that he's still going to be the guy that contributes as the pass catcher, but Hyde will probably rear his ugly head at some point. AIYUK and Higgins, great upside swings for my flex spot there. Noah Fant is a tight end I absolutely love this year. I think he's going to be a big-time breakout candidate. Devontae Smith, again, a wide receiver that I absolutely love, big-time breakout candidate. Some upside plays at running back and some safety with Nyheim Hines as a PPR guy. I really like, filling out my running back core with guys like that. If I'm going to be weak at the running back position, I would have liked to have gotten a Trey Sermon, a Javonte Williams somewhere in this range, but the value wasn't there. Michael Carter was sniped right before me. So I had to pivot and go with the better options and then address the position later. It's fine. Elijah Moore in the 11th round is tremendous value. This is an 8th round player for me that I got in the 11th round. Trey Lance and Kirk Cousins, like I said, I'm going to be playing matchups with those guys, presumably with Kirk Cousins at the beginning of the year because he has good matchups, and we don't know if Trey Lance is going to be starting. And then once Trey Lance is starting, I can kind of just interchange matchups between those two guys. Jacoby Myers and Cole Kmet, like I said, one of these guys will be dropped in favor of my defense, probably Cole Kmet, most likely, because I do already have Noah Fant. And I think Jacoby Myers is going to be pretty good from a PPR perspective. So that's my team. I don't really feel like going over the other teams. If you guys want to take a look, I'll let you guys look over the other teams right now. But if you're picking earlier in the draft, I think the smart play to go, and you guys would have seen our early round draft strategy video, would be to get one of these anchor running backs, go with some wide receivers in the middle, like what Team 1 did. And in the middle rounds, as I talked about with picks 5 to 8, you're kind of at the mercy of the draft board. There's no real strategy that you can employ. You kind of just got to see who falls to you, who you have rated higher, and go with your gut on that perspective. And then with 9 to 12, you have a lot of flexibility depending on who falls. You can go with a wide receiver in the first round, like I said, with Tyreek Hill, Adams, Diggs, Hopkins, whoever you like the most. And you can go with a running back start if you wanted to go Eckler and Najee Harris or something like that. A lot of flexibility overall. Hope you guys did enjoy that. I hope this gave you some value. This was a 12-team PPR mock draft with the scoring settings in the top left corner, as you guys can see them. If you did enjoy, like, comment, subscribe to the channel if you are new. And if you want access to all of my rankings, all of Danny's rankings, Dynasty, Redraft, PPR, half PPR, Superflex, whatever you guys need, that is available in our draft guide. You can access our draft guide by going to underdogfantasy.com and using promo code FSE at sign up and first deposit. You will get both of our draft guides for free, and you'll get a $25 bonus on whatever you deposit. So if you deposit $10, you'll get $35 to use on the site. That's 7 puppy drafts that you can do to help practice for your fantasy football league. You can win big money with those puppy drafts, and you also get both of our draft guides for free. So best deal on the internet. Peace out, guys, and enjoy your Tuesday.
Why you need the money?